friends, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing another installment of my booktube / book talk terms that might be helpful to you if you're starting a channel or just want to know more about books in general so that you can give better reviews, more concise thoughts on things, etc, etc. So for today we are doing mystery terminology. Last time we did thrillers. You might want to check that out beforehand because there's a lot of crossover. So this video will be a little bit shorter than the other one. But let's start by defining what a mystery is. So from my research, a mystery is something that focuses on a main character trying to solve a crime. So that is the difference between a thriller and mysteries, is that thrillers don't necessarily have to focus on a crime, but a mystery does. So you can have a mystery thriller, but you can't have a thriller. You can have a thriller that's not a mystery, but a mystery that's not a thriller. You have to have a main character who's trying to solve a crime for it to be a mystery, or some strange, unexplained thing is happening and your main character is trying to explain what that is. So this could be like a paranormal mystery, or trying to think of other things. Just like strange occurrences are happening that they have to figure out. It might not be a crime. Like someone could just disappear and that could be a mystery. So, and the other thing is that thing that they're trying to figure out cannot be solved or explained until the very end of the book. Can't be in the middle and then something else happens. It has to be all one plot line. Important elements of a mystery. And this first one I think is probably the most important, and that is believability. If you are writing a mystery or reading a mystery, it has to be believable, because if it's not, people are going to have a hard time getting into the story. I think this is where a lot of mysteries that we see recently that have been getting really bad reviews, even though they're by authors who write really good mystery, they're forgetting the believability part. They're leaving that out. Even paranormal ones, there has to be some level of, you can believe that this is happening and you don't have to suspend your disbelief, because you're always going to read it with some level going in of biases and knowledge that you already have. And if you have to put too much of that out of your mind, you're not going to enjoy the story as much. So also another big important element, probably one of the most important, is having clues interwoven throughout the book. Now, they don't have to be obvious clues that we, the reader, pick up on right away, because that's part of the fun, is finding out what is a clue and what isn't a clue. But they have to be in there, whether they're red herrings or not. We have to have action and suspense. I think that's pretty, typical. You can't have one that is super boring. People won't read it. Like I said, we have to have an event or a crime, and we have to have a culprit. Now, our culprit has their own special elements that they have to adhere to. They have to be believable too. They have to be someone that you believe can commit this crime or has the motive to do so. If they don't have motive, then why are they doing this? And the motive can be anything. It doesn't have to be something that you as the reader would consider a motive. It just can pertain to the criminal. As long as they have motivation for it, it counts. You have to have a detective. That doesn't mean it has to be a police officer or like a actual like official detective, but just somebody who's working to solve the crime, and that's usually our main character. They have to be likable, they have to be somewhat cautious, and they have to be reputable. We have to like them, we have to believe them, we have to have in our minds that they couldn't be the ones who did this. Setting is super important in a mystery. It's something that, obviously it's going to encapsulate the whole story, but in a mystery, a setting can be so important. Like in Survive the Night, the whole mystery takes place in a car. You don't have to build this big expansive world like a fantasy with a mystery. It can be very contained, and I find that mysteries that keep the world very small and kind of keep everything functioning in one place are more believable, because these big wide events that go on all over the place don't really fit the mystery tropes, if that makes sense. So like in The Guest List, they're all on one island. In A Home Before Dark, it's all happening in one house. In the Dead Is series, it's all happening in one town. Truly Devious, it's all at the same school. Like, everything is very contained to kind of like this little micro world that they're functioning in. And with that, you get to know the characters, you get to know their motivations just in life in general, like their interpersonal relationships, and that builds on that believability. So setting is super important, adds realism to your story. Even if it's a fantasy mystery, it's gonna add something to the story. And then you have to have the perfect length. It can't be too long, it can't be too short, and if you're gonna do a series, you have to make sure you space the books out correctly. So this is my mystery shelf that you guys can see. I'll actually turn you a little bit so you can see more of the books. This is an 8-book mystery. These are not very long. This is a duology. Again, even those, not very long. Truly Devious, these are all under 400 pages. This one, I think, is the longest, The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. This is 3 mysteries in one. They're all about 100 pages. Like, nothing on this shelf exceeds 400 pages. You want to keep it short, you want to keep it sweet, simple, to the point, because dragging it out for too long, people will lose interest. And that's something when I'm reading a mystery that I will ding points off of for when I'm reading it, because it's too long or too drawn out. So some must-have things that make a good mystery. We have cliffhangers. Of course, those are going to happen more so with your series because you're going to end off on a cliffhanger, but you can have them at the end of each chapter, and that keeps people reading. Suspense, obviously, you have to have some sort of like breathtaking moment that kind of holds you as the reader, and again, is going to keep you reading. Red herrings, those are always great. Those little false clues that make you think you know what happens, even though you might be wrong. A good cast of characters. There can't just be one person functioning in this world. They usually have to have a sidekick that's some sort of comic relief or a genius. Kind of that Sherlock Holmes and Watson, like, repartee. They balance each other out, they work well with each other, and ultimately they use each other to solve the mystery. That's always great to have. Useful evidence. Have to have that throughout the book, telling you this is a clue, this is something that's going to work, because they're going to sprinkle in little clues that are more verbal, but having actual tangible, I mean, it's not tangible to us, but tangible to the people in the book, evidence helps build on your believability. Involving the reader is always fun, and I think with a mystery, you're always super involved as a reader because you're trying to figure it out too. And then a satisfying ending. If a mystery has a bad ending, it's going to get bad reviews, without a doubt. So now let's talk some recommendations. I mentioned some of them while I was talking about book length, but we have the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. This takes place at a boarding school, and it's solving a case that is happening currently and a case that's happening in the past. So you have a dual timeline that keeps you moving along. It's amazingly set. It has so many good clues, and the cliffhangers are very different in this book. Because of the dual timeline, you always end up with the modern day case being solved in some way, at least to a good ending point in these books, and then you have to carry on to see what next part of the old case gets solved. But things keep happening that keep bringing things up from the old. So it's kind of this constant, you think it's over, but it's not really over, which I really like. Then you have the Dead Is series. There's 8 of these. I'm not going to pick them all up. But this is a paranormal mystery. Very short. This book is only 190 pages, so it's not even 200 pages. This is one of my favorites. This is one of the first series that I actually bought all of and read, and have read more than once. It deals with vampires in one book, werewolves in another, I think maybe not really zombies in one, but there's a bunch of different paranormal creatures in all those books, and it's super fun and done in a very Teen Wolf, Veronica Mars sort of way. Then of course you have my favorite Stalking Jack the Ripper series. That is a historical fiction, and one that is based on true events but gives the story a whole new twist with every single book, which I adore. And it's not just about stalking Jack the Ripper. That's just the first one. Like, Jack the Ripper is the main culprit in the first one. The second one is someone copying the murders of Vlad the Impaler. Escaping Houdini actually isn't necessarily Houdini, I don't think. I think he's just in it. And then Capturing the Devil is H.H. Holmes. So that's what all those are based on. Looking here, Nancy Drew obviously is a classic. These ones just put Nancy Drew in modern day, and I think they're kind of like that show that came out, was on for a couple seasons, but this is actually 3 mysteries in one, which I really like. The Inheritance Games is like Knives Out, great series. And then I've talked about these 3 here before. But some I haven't read yet. I have heard The Paris Apartment is very good. I actually just got that from Book of the Month. And Lock Every Door is very good. That all takes place in one apartment building. So I think The Paris Apartment does too. It all kind of takes place in one building and the neighbors are all suspects. So mysteries are super fun. They're very easy to get into. And you can, no matter what you like reading, you can probably find a mystery you like. Even if you really like high fantasy, there are a lot of fantasy books now that are like kind of diving into mystery a little bit. So that is it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know down below. Check out the other Booktube terms you need to know. I have a bunch of them. I have just a general one that talks about the overarching terms like TBR and DNF and wrap up and everything like that. And I did thriller, like I said, and I've done another one too. Oh, I've done one talking about like romance all on its own, because that was so many. You couldn't just do contemporary. I had to do romance as its own separate video. So if you like this, let me know, and I will see you in the next one.